This is the reinforcer, Andrew Anderson, and you're listening to Perched on the Top Rope. And if you don't think I will come off that top rope, I will. And when I land, you better watch out, because I'm going to punch your mama in the mouth.
Welcome, everyone, to Perched on the Top Rope. It's me. I am the Long Island Iced Z. And you heard by that entrance, we have the reinforcer, Andrew Anderson. Andrew, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Lee. How are you?
I am fantastic during these troubled times, but, you know, we're America and we get through everything. So,
man, you know what? It's a nightmare. I'm telling you, I never thought in my lifetime I would experience anything like this, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, the whole United States is basically just shut down, you know, and
pretty much, you know.
And everybody is having, you know, troubled times and this and that. So hopefully your listening ears will enjoy what you hear and enjoy the show, folks. Andrew, I want to start because not only are you a wrestler, but you are also an actor. I'd like to talk a little bit about the wrestling first. You know, the whole, you know, we understand Arn Anderson was the enforcer, and, you know, your uncle is Ole Anderson, and, you know, you're the reinforcer. How did you come up with the name?
I didn't want to be an Anderson. I wanted to be creative and do my own thing. So everybody said, you know, you look like you could fall for a big Russian. They said, but you look like an Anderson, but you can be a Russian. So they threw me in. Jimmy Snuka threw me in with Nikolai Volkov. Mm-hmm. And he was my first real tag team partner. My first tag team partner on the Indies for a few months was the pub bully who wrestles as the real deal, Craig Steele, now 20 some odd years later. A great guy. But my real mainstream tag team partner was Nikolai Volkov. They threw me in when Boris Zukov quit the Bolsheviks, and I won a team with Nikolai all over the Indies, and John Krasuski, a.k.a. Nikita Brezhnikov, was my manager. And we had a great time there, and wrestling with Nikolai was fun. I mean, you never knew what to expect. People didn't want to wrestle him because he was a cement mixer, you know? I mean, he was some guys I talk to some of the guys now, and they would say, you know, Nikolai never really learned how to bump. He wasn't a great worker. He was a cement mixer. And I'd be like, but you know what? Nikolai was a great guy. The bottom line was he was honest. You know what I'm saying? You could ask Fred Blassie or anybody. He was a great dude, you know? But Nikolai didn't I was the Russian. I was a Siberian Tiger, team with Nikolai Volkov. And I went to work for Jersey All Pro Wrestling in the late mid to, I think, the late 90s, like 98. And Nova, Mikey Nova, you know, Hollywood Supernova, turns around and says to me, he says, you know, you don't look like a Russian. The Cold War's dead. What the fuck you doing the Russian gimmick for? You're an Anderson. You got to be an Anderson. So from now on, when you work for this company, you're going to be Andrew Anderson. We're going to call you Double A. So out of the blue, Crowbar comes up and goes, you know, you're not the enforcer. You can't be called the enforcer. What do we call you? The reinforcer. And I was like, well, you know, the guy in WCW, I forgot what his name was. He was one of the new blood, the smaller guy with Jim Draco hair and those guys. He was using the name reinforcer for a while, but they didn't really trademark it. So I went out and ran the trademark and got the reinforcer trademark, and there you go, reinforcer Andrew Anderson. For the rest of the next 20 some odd years, I've been running around as the reinforcer, you know?
So, yeah, that's an incredible story. And I like the, you know, you bring up the, you know, your beginning, you know, with Jimmy Superfly Snuka and teaming with Nikolai, and, you know, your manager was Nikita Brezhnikov, which is really interesting because he played a part in The Wrestler just like you, and folks will be interviewing him also, which is really cool. What was it like, you know, right off the bat in your career?
I was thrown out of the frying pan into the fire. I was carrying Jimmy Snuka's bags for years. And I was carrying Jimmy's bags. I remember going up to work for in Massachusetts. I don't know what the company was, but I drove him in. I had a Camaro. Me and Jimmy were driving up, and this is a twofold. This is a story you're gonna like it. I got two stories for two different. I can go off on a tangent. I'll go off on a tangent after I tell you the initial story. So I'm driving Arrow up Jimmy Snuka. Jimmy Snuka loves Budweiser and McDonald's cheeseburgers. So Jimmy, he was in his 50s at the time, still looked great. and he's wolfing down cheeseburgers, drinking beer, and I'm looking at him like I said, I'm still. I'm like, this is the life. I'm drinking beers with Jimmy Snuka on the highway. You know, it was early night. And the Metal Maniac wanted me to drive Jimmy that day because he did most of the driving with Jimmy, and so Jimmy gets me up there, and Jimmy was teaching me a little bit, little by little. I didn't really go to a wrestling school yet. I would wind up going to East Coast Pro Wrestling, run in Lake Hiawatha, New Jersey, by Gino Caruso. About a year later or 2 years later, but Jimmy turns around and says, there was nobody to work Jimmy on that show. So Jimmy says, brother, you're working me tonight. You listen to what I say. I got in the ring. I wore sweatpants. I wore somebody's wrestling boots. I got in the ring with a mask on, and Jimmy fucking did everything. I locked up with him like he taught me. I got him in a headlock. He shot me off the ropes. Never went off the ropes in my life. He shot me off the ropes. Back. He said, just like you see on TV, brother. So I was, in fact, I was kind of working a backyard. Jimmy worked not even a backyard, a no-yarder. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, we learning stuff in Jeff Miller's kitchen when he was away in Hawaii, and Jimmy was there. Jeff the Metal Maniac. I was learning stuff in his kitchen while Jimmy was training me there and on the road and different times of the day. He'd show me things, and I'd bring Jimmy to get his cowboy boots polished. I'd bring to get his suit dry cleaned and all this stuff. So I was basically Jimmy's bitch at that time. So it was my best. He told me, he said, when I come off the top, sit up a little bit. Because he knew I was green, he didn't come off the top onto me with a superfly leap. He did the flying headbutt and pinned me right there. It was my first time in the ring. I swear to God, I had shit in my pants, man. The whole time I was out there. I remember Jimmy gave me a Valium before I went out. We went out and we did it. And he told the promoter I worked and I did this and that, and I was like, fuck, man. But I went out and then I didn't wrestle again for another year. I didn't wrestle again for another year. And then I trained, and I got trained properly, and then I worked Gino Caruso my first match. But that night, driving back from Massachusetts, Jimmy turned around in the middle of the night. He had a buzz on, and he was a little bit high. We were smoking some weed, and he looks at me and goes, brother, you think I killed that girl? And I was like, don't kill me. I was like, I heard the stories, but I really didn't know.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, Jimmy, is he going to eat me? Good answer. Years later, I'm talking about 10, 15 years later, driving down the road, and Jimmy turns around and says to me, it must have been about 2002, 2003, brother, do you think I killed that girl? And I said, Jimmy, Pop, I said, I don't know what happened. It doesn't matter. All I know is I love you. And I said, I know you couldn't hurt a fly. I said, I know, I don't know what happened back then. I don't want to know. He was like, brother, I didn't kill her. He goes, and he looked at me and said, it was an accident. That's what he said. And I just remember, he didn't go into how it was an accident, what happened, but that's all he said. And then he slept. He put his sunglasses on, and half the time, sometimes his eyes were open like a rabbit. I'd lift the sunglasses up, and he'd look at me like it's like that. And other times I'd let them pull back. He'd be out cold, passed out. I just want to make sure he's out cold, what the hell's going on, Back, you'd have a girl in the room, and Jimmy's sitting in the bed with glasses on. You don't know if he's sleeping or if he's watching you. So, but it was...
I saw you on COVID Con with the thing Kenny Casanova set up.
Yeah.
So, why don't you tell us a little bit about the book?
Writer Nick Casella, one of my dear friends, passed away 4 years ago in October. He died of an aneurysm, and he bled out. He died. And it took a while for us to get the transcripts back that he was writing on the book. So the first like 17 chapters, we got 12 back forensically from his files with all the firewalls and codes and everything. We didn't know what was what. Mm-hmm. Well, we got it back, and I got the transcripts from that. Plus, my old business partner Ebenezer Baldwin Bowles was starting to write the book to take over where he left off, and he was my partner in NWA Big Apple for the first few shows. He was from an old elderly guy from Oklahoma. He was writing. From Arkansas. He was writing. He wrote a few chapters of it, and then I kept writing. I kept dictating into my recorder. I had a whole bunch of chapters, right? But I can't put heads or tails. I'm not a good writer, so I need somebody to help me put it together. So Kenny Casanova got John Cosper, and we're going to see how that goes. And hopefully everything will be ready. We'll have the book out pretty soon. Good to roll. Awesome. Kenny said I have a good. Yeah, I got a lot of stories to tell, and the good thing about it was getting the stuff forensically was great because I have a lot of stories. It was originally going to use them. Nick was going to use the book as my story, and then how it really happened. So it'd have my version, then Jimmy Snuka's version, with interviews from Jimmy, which he has now, thank God. My version, and then Piper's version. My version, and then freaking Nick's version. You know, so I got all these little excerpts from all these guys talking about the craziness that is Andrew Anderson. You know, so even Ozzy was fucking up. Whoa, baby.
Hey, no, that's awesome.
What's Nana doing?
My Nana is actually doing really well. She is.
Give her my.
I will. She's doing well. She has been quarantined since March, you know, since it all started. She's 86, so now she's afraid to leave the house. You know, so usually every night I or my mom bring her dinner, you know, cook for her, make sure she has everything she needs.
Awesome. She's such a sweet.
But she's doing great, and she's gonna get a kick out of the fact that you mentioned her.
I remembered her, man. She had a great sense of fucking humor.
Oh yeah, she's great, and she's on Facebook too. So
she was quick. She was quick, bro.
She
was quick with it. She was busting your hump, man. She was busting your hump.
She was shocked when I brought her to that Comic-Con, and you know, she watched me with you and Dan, and she was just shocked. It was like you guys had like approached me as opposed to, you know, vice versa. I don't think she knew at first that I knew who you guys were already and met yous and everything. But she was blown away by it all. She never been to it. It was her first one, and she loved it. She got a kick out of you and Dan the most. She loved sitting with you guys, and it was great.
Me and Dan played good.
Oh yeah, you guys did. Yeah, for sure. It was great though. She loved it. So I will make sure that I tell her hi for you. You know, send the best wishes. Speaking of Jimmy Snuka, I got to ask: did you watch the Dark Side of the Ring episode on him? And what were your thoughts?
I thought that they vilified him a little too much. They didn't really give Jimmy's side of the story a chance. I mean, Don Morocco called it like it is. You know, he basically said Jimmy liked to party. Jimmy was basically the animal when he was all messed up on coke and stuff. You know, because he was doing it. But you know, I mean, they should have gave Carol, his current wife, a little more airtime. Had more people who knew him better. At that time, they should have had like Greg Valentine and Brian Knobs. Although Knobs wasn't around at that era, he came a few years later. They should have had Greg Valentine. They should have had people like that, like Tony Atlas, who were there.
Yeah,
you know, were on the road. And you know what's funny? It's that night also. They didn't mention that night was also the same night I think that Eddie Gilbert drove in the back of somebody's car on the highway. I think Eddie Gilbert was almost killed in a car accident that night also. Coming back from that Pennsylvania. That was something else that they didn't talk about, because they have a habit of going into peripheral stories on these things also. They should have also spoke about that, but so the WWE was kind of stretched in two different directions, worried about him and worried about, you know, the Jimmy thing. So I think that was something that happened that night, if I'm not mistaken. But they should have had more of Jimmy's peers like Greg and everybody else on it, you know, to sort of defend them. And they only had Don on it, and that was kind of Don and Tonga. You know, and Tonga Kid was very supportive of Jimmy, but they should have Jimmy's wife Carol on it, because she knew a lot for going in the trial. You know, she was there for the. Jimmy wasn't with it on the trial. She was. You know, they should have had Metal Maniac on it. A lot of years with Jimmy on the road. They should, you know, Jeff Middle of the Metal Maniac. They should have had me on the show, or somebody else who was close to him, like a Gino Caruso, who we were all with Jimmy on a regular basis. You know what I'm saying? Or a Tommy Fierro, who promotes 80s WrestleCon. I mean, Tommy was close with Jimmy, like most of us were close with Jimmy in the Jersey area, because he lived up here for years after that. So we all knew the ins and outs that happened. We knew Jimmy, what he was capable of, what he wasn't capable of, you know. So, you know, like I said, I wasn't from that era, so really that's probably they just wanted people who were there at that time, you know.
Yeah.
So, but there are a lot of people that could have been great character references to Jimmy. So
yeah, no, I agree, because if you watch, it didn't really, like you said right from the beginning, you know, they made him seem more like all villain all the time, which, you know, as we saw on TV, he portrayed
yeah,
you know, so you know, we know he portrayed a face on
Yeah,
TV, but then
they,
but we also know how television can manipulate things. You know, you've been in movies
oh,
and
that
in TV commercials and everything, so um, you know, you can
point is
manipulate.
good.
In your wrestling career, you know, you said, you know, right off the bat, your very first match was with Snuka, and you know, you traveled with him, carried his bags and everything. So I got to ask, you know, right from the get go in your career, you start off with like legend after legend after legend, working with Snuka. Your very first match, your tag team, your first tag team was with Nikolai. You also wrestled many legends like guys, you know,
Oh, I,
Demolition and Beefcake, and working with Valentine. So what was it like for you? You know, granted, you know, these guys are legends. So what was it like for you coming on board and you work with all these legends?
for me, it was like, you know, I mean, it's like sometimes it was like pinch me, am I dreaming? You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah,
Brutus became one of my best friends. Good 8-year run, it was me and him. A 10-year run, it was me and Greg and Brutus. You know, well, me and Greg were together for almost 10 years, booked on every event everywhere. And 5 of those 10 years were with Brutus. You know, I mean, these guys lived and stayed at my house for days on end. You
hmm,
know, I mean, they were family. They were there for my kids' parties and everything like that. I mean, we were. It's still, even with Greg. Greg's living in Vegas now, and Brutus is in Florida. And but I don't often talk to Brutus that often. You know, we didn't have falling out. It just, I guess, you know, things have happened between him and I. You know, I don't, you know, I guess some of it bad, some of it good. A lot of people got in our way of our friendship. You know what I'm saying? But with
yeah,
Greg, I mean, everything's still great with Greg. I see him every now and again. We do things when we can, you know. But the problem is a lot of these promoters don't want to fly people in sometimes. You know what I'm saying? They don't
yeah.
want to fly a lot of the names in unless they're wrestling. If you're not wrestling, they don't want to fly you in. So they come up. That led to some problems with some bookings and stuff like that. Some misunderstandings with like Brutus and me. You know. So I mean, but other than that, I mean, it was great. I mean, I worked everybody. I worked Tugboat. God, I worked fucking Demolition. God, the only tag team I never worked the Road Warriors. That's pretty much the only one, and they're specialists tonight on the show on Viceland. So, and I'm really good. Joe Laurinaitis is one of my best friends, and he's one of the marquee guys on my tour of Cuba coming up.
Speaking of your wrestling career, and you know, you're getting ready for that tour, which is phenomenal. You know, would you like to talk about it?
Originally, we were scheduled for um, for November, but Trump had a travel ban, so then we moved it to
Yeah,
April 18th. And April 18th, we wound up getting everything approved for, and then the COVID-19 strikes, and so we moved it to July or August. Cuban consulate and the American embassy totally told us don't expect it in July or August. So the Cuban consulate moved it to November, December of 2020, and so we're looking right at that point. We have myself and Kevin Sullivan are running it, along with a friend of ours, Mike Frazee, who runs the Cuban American cycling team, and his daughter Susan, and we're all running it together. We have some good sponsors, and you know, we have Sonny Ono with Kaz Hayashi on it, Road Warrior
yeah.
Animal, Joe Laurinaitis. My tag team partner, Mustang Mike Beadle, who I got a shout out to Mike right now. Mike, I love you. I'm in your corner. I'm sorry for the loss of your sister Jackie. She was a wonderful woman, and she passed away about 2 hours ago today. And I'd be amiss if I didn't say nothing about that. And you know, prayers for you, your family, and the repose of Jackie. So she had a long battle with cancer. But getting back to Mustang Mike will be there with me. Tokyo Monster Cahagas, the Nasty Boys, Sags and Knobs. Obviously, Kevin Sullivan and I are reprising our role as the Dungeon of Doom with Tokyo Monster Cahagas, and also Rodney Mack, my other tag team partner, Rodney Mack, Alex Porto from Pro Wrestling's 225 in Florida. I'll give you a shout out to 225 Alex, the Pug Porto. He's going to be there with us. He still looks great, and he still competes. You know, occasionally he's not I wouldn't say he's retired, but, and then of course I got to say we have managed by the legendary Ricky Santana, who's Cuban. We have the Cuban heavyweight champion Fidel Sierra. So the Cuban assassin, who now, first time in his career, is a babyface, the Cuban Patriot, El Patriota de Cuba. So he's our Hulk Hogan down there, man. So we got a great crew. Yeah, we got it's going to be great. I mean, young guys like Tim Theory's going to be there, and older guys like Pitbull Gary Wolf from the ECW originals will be there. Gangrel, we have Gangrel also slated to be on the tour. Stevie Ray. Originally, what we're trying to do is me and Rodney Mack against Stevie Ray and Road Warrior Animal. That's what we want as our main event. We really want that. I don't know if Joe is cleared to work, but Stevie Ray is definitely in to work, and I'm going to be doing Stevie's podcast soon, good friends with Stevie. I love him,
Yeah, I'm trying to work with Stevie to get him to. I've got his brother Booker T as a forward for Mr. Hughes' autobiography. I'm helping Mr. Hughes with his book. Now, Stevie Ray is next. Yeah, so I'm trying to get Stevie Ray next. So I have both, on there for the book. So let me ask you this: you get to wrestle all these legends, all these big names, working with Greg Valentine, Tito Santana, Jimmy Snuka, Demolition, and the list goes on and on. The reinforcer Andrew Anderson goes into the Rhode Island Hall of Fame. What was that like for you to be part of and get in a Hall of Fame with all these other legends and everything? And what was it like?
Oh, that was a great time. It was a great time hanging out with them. I'm saying that was really a good time. I mean, who was there? I mean, Beefcake, Valentine, everybody were there. Barry Windham, Tully, one of my good. I'll be amiss if James J. Dillon. He's part of the Cuba tour. He is going to be running my my locker room in Cuba. So, and also Carmine DeSpirito, a manager from New York area, now lives in Oklahoma. He's also going to be up there helping me with production. He's working with Hollywood Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and Dave Marquez. So you never know. Maybe there could be that crossover with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood goes to Cuba. You never know. So there's a lot of things we have in the pot. So, but what was it like going up to the New England Hall of Fame? That was really great. That was really great up in Rhode Island. I was looking forward to it. I don't know if it's still going to happen. When is it? It got postponed, and it was supposed to be in June now, right? One was supposed to be in June, I think.
Yeah, I think it was like June 7th and 8th, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it definitely got pushed back. I know that. So that all happens, and then in 2001, the acting bug hits you. How did that happen?
2001, I got in a movie called Creepy Tales. I did a movie called Creepy Tales, Girls Night Out. Producer, director Michael Russin, and he calls me up and says, "Listen, we want you to play a werewolf." All right, but we want you to play the werewolf. We want you to do all your own stunts. So I'll go through all the makeup, and here I am. I'm a famous Monsters of Filmland fan. I love Forrest J. Ackerman. I love all the directors, Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, and all the actors, Vincent Price. I cut my teeth on those, black and white magazines and stuff in the 60s and 70s. I collect all the older ones. To me, the older ones were from early 70s. So I was getting them in the 80s when I was a kid. But to me, I loved all the old Gothic horror, and here I am getting made up to be a werewolf, like Silver Bullet or The Howling, and I'm in this movie. And it was great. It was a good time. I got bit by the acting bug, but I didn't do anything after that. I did a couple small little independent films for at various I wouldn't even say C movies, I'd say D movies. And then all of a sudden 2007 rolls up. I tear my ACL. 2008, I really tear my ACL, and here I am chasing somebody up the bleachers in a show in Jersey, and who's in the audience but Darren Aronofsky and Evan Ginsberg. Evan Ginsberg says, "I know this guy." Darren says, "I want him for the film." So, but I have to audition because I'm not one of Office guys. The WXW and Office guys were the guys who were bringing their crew in as, background. So I get in. I have to audition. I get roles. I read my lines. I'm originally supposed to be Lex Lethal. Goes off to that bodybuilder guy that was doing the steroid scene in the movie. He gets that role. I get the role of Andrew Anderson playing myself. I read my lines to read. I'm in the scene with Papa Don and Greek God Papa Don and Paulie Normus. a kid that I was training who passed away right before the movie was released. He did some time in OVW. He was a good guy, and Jimmy Powers was supposed to be in the scene, but Jimmy Powers got into a fight with the director because he was mad about waiting in the set and left. So I've seen it was supposed to be a match between the four of us, but they didn't film my match. They filmed it, but they didn't use it because I was wrestling with a bum leg. But I still got on it in the movie, and I got all my scenes. I got my Screen Actors Guild. I got a grandfather to SAG, and SAG-AFTRA, and SAG and AFTRA weren't combined back then. But a few years later, they did. I wound up getting the Skittles commercials, Doritos commercials, snowballing it. I wound up getting a team, what I call Team Anderson, with a management team, Pat Horgan Talent, and then it went into Roger Paul Inc. and I went into a bunch of other companies, so now I have Team Anderson, which is a management team, which is great. I have an agent, who was awesome, and I have a couple other agencies that represent me for stuff that my agent doesn't get me into. So I am allowed to go peripherally, according to my deal. But it's pretty cool, and I getting all these roles in these movies, and now I'm working with JD Glasscock, a director out of Texas, who's originally from LA. An awesome screenplay he wrote for a movie called Blade and Blood, and it's got an awesome cast for it. And I'm playing a character named Crank, and I'm a really down dirty piece of crap, you know what I'm saying? But it's bringing the heel roots out of me, you know what I'm saying? So I've been a baby for the past 6-7 months before this COVID thing hit. So, but this is like bringing the heel back out of me, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Pretty cool. So that's the fun part about it, I mean, but once again, all the acting, and I just finished up FBI Special Victim, FBI Most Wanted. I finished that for CBS, and it's all put on back burner right now. So nothing's going to get done for a while, and it's just a matter of time for everything, so to get back to normal, some semblance of normal, I mean, that's the most important thing,
Yeah, I mean, I've seen your Doritos commercial. I've seen the Skittles commercial. I watched The Wrestler. It's actually one of my favorite movies. If you're a wrestling fan, how can it not be? Let's be honest. Another thing, I know this about you, we've been in person plenty of times. You're a Marvel figure collector. So what was it like, you're a Marvel fan. What was it like playing in the Demon biker gang on Gotham in season 4?
Well, that's great. I mean, obviously being a Marvel fan, I'm also a DC fan too. Don't get me wrong, but I'm more of a Marvel guy, But it was awesome. It was awesome being on Gotham. Gotham was a big to do. That added up my credentials quite a bit. It took me about 17 hours to get my hair to come back down from sticking. I look like, hey, how you doing, folks? I'm John Bravo. Oh yeah, hey, baby. I was doing that a lot, and I see the locker room, the trailer. I call the trailer the locker room. I'm still a fucking wrestler. I'm such a worker, So,
Yeah.
it was a good time, man. It was a really good time. So I just got cast for a movie, a wrestling movie, just a couple of days ago. An agent called me up. Evelyn, she called me up, and she got me. I read some lines, did some stuff, and they cast me in this movie. So hopefully, we'll see how this goes once this thing breaks. I don't have a name. I don't have any information other than the fact that it's all hush hush. It's a wrestling movie.
That's incredible. That's awesome. Andrew, where can fans find you on, social media, Facebook, Twitter, anything?
On Twitter at Drew the Wrestler, and Instagram, Andrew the Reinforcer. On Twitter, on Facebook, it's Andrew Anderson. I got 2 fan pages at Andrew Anderson. One at Andrew Anderson, the Andrew the Reinforcer Anderson. 2 at Andrew Anderson, and you'll see my mug on it somewhere over there. I don't exactly know the exact Facebook // just look me up. You'll see me on it. One of them I have a skull mask covering my face. So
now before I let you go, I want to do something fun. I have a signed 8x10 and a signed Skittles box.
Okay.
The signed 8x10 was one of your scenes in The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke, and the signed Skittle box. For any fans listening to this, I want you to ask a question, because the first person who comments the right answer on Facebook will win the 8x10 and the signed box of Skittles. Andrew, I want you to give wrestling fans and acting fans a good question that might stump them.
Okay. There was a movie called Body Slam. What famous WWF Hall of Fame manager managed the tag team of the Barbarian and Tijo Khan?
Okay. I'm going to have to look that up because, to be honest, even I don't remember. I remember the Body Slam. I remember it, but that's a good one.
Legendary manager managed the Barbarian and Tijo Khan. By the way, Barbarian has been one of my toughest opponents. I wrestled the Powers of Pain with numerous tag team partners over the years. Me and the Barbarian have both had victories and losses, pinfall victories and losses over each other. We wrestled in Africa. We wrestled in Asia. We wrestled in South America. We wrestled in Queens, New York, and in New Jersey. So we wrestled all over the planet, and in Texas. And I remember we had a match in Sulphur Springs, Texas, where the promoter said, "Oh, I got a Sulphur Springs Dodge. They're giving you a Dodge truck. You guys can do whatever you want to it." Before you know it, me and Barbarian on the top. He picked me up and body slammed me through the windshield. The cab was destroyed. Barbarian says, "Run my face into the side view mirror." I ran his face in the side view mirror. "Brother, do I got color? Do I have color?" I said, "No, Barb, none." He goes, "Okay." He goes, so I took the blade from the piece of broken glass and I gigged him. He goes, "Now I got color, now, brother, now color." It's funny. So, but we trashed that freaking truck. So.
Oh, wow.
I'll send you a picture. I'll send you a picture from that match.
Yeah, please do. Please do. I really want to see that.
Arena, and we were killing it all over the place. Great crowd. Had Action Jackson was on it. Charlie Haas, Greg Valentine was on it. The Tokyo Monster. It was a really, really stacked card. It was a good time. So, good
wow.
time.
That's awesome. Andrew, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to speak with me today.
Lee, you were always one of the greatest guys, best interviewers, and I always had fun with you, man. From the time we met, me and you hit it off, and you're a good guy, man. I'll do anything to help you out, and love it.
Hey, I really appreciate that. You're a phenomenal guy. More than just a performer to me, I call you a friend to anyone that I talk to about you, and I really appreciate how you interacted with my grandmother. That made her day, and the whole ride home that night, all she talked about was you guys. So thank you for that. And again, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. And I look forward to having you on again.
Brother, anytime. You just call me. I'm here doing nothing. Sitting, drinking glasses of wine with my thumb up my ass. Lee, my light is running over here, man. Lee Walker, I love you. All right? All right,
I love
brother?
you too, brother. It was great
well.
talking with you.
Hey.